again. Obviously played in game 1, although...
I also don't expect.
Yeah.
Because
he was played.
Yeah, because he was played and he can't be played anymore.
That does make sense.
But it's a true statement.
It is. It's a very true statement. Jackson Pantheon banned away by MKOI on the blue side.
Don't expect those to be picked in this game now, too.
I'm not expecting it at all, Zale. I'm going to be honest. There's the Gragas,
There's the boss bands right there.
Just get rid of anything.
Lost Returns stuff in for game 2.
I'm sure there's a lot of fans who think the Lost Returns could have done better than EU has done so far in this MSI. Gragas the final ban for MKOI. CFO looking towards their last. Varus available is something we saw banned out in game 1.
Conspicuously absent.
Yeah.
I would say I expect him to be banned, but we'll find out if that is going to be the case or if CFO are going to be willing to leave that one up. Varus to me is just kind of the clear #1 pick right now. I feel like it's almost a guaranteed first pick for MKOI with that up and available. But TF is another pick that obviously is really powerful. They didn't decide to go for it last game. This time they're going to first pick the TF. This is interesting because like, it really is hard committing you to this style. It hasn't actually been that effective so far at MSI, and it's not a champion that Hongq has played, so I almost feel like you could have gotten the Varus and then maybe grabbed the TF a little bit later on. I feel like this way you're both giving counterpick over, you know, potentially double counterpick because Hongq could take his mid laner now, and then you could actually save 5th pick for Driver, but also potentially that Varus as well.
Not something we see often from Doggo this split, at least. Hasn't played it at all.
But it's just so powerful.
I mean, it's so powerful. 100% agree with you. It's the S-tier AD carry right now.
But it's possible that he is just going to kind of skip past it, because you're right, it is not something that has been a big priority for him whatsoever. Skarner going to be taken. You could still go like Skarner Varus and take a mid lane counter on 3 if you wanted, but we'll see if they are just going to completely ignore that Varus. In which case, credit to MKOI, they would have a really good read.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be the Aurora coming out for CFO. Switch to the Rise at the last moment. Great push on the Rise, obviously, with that spell flux. Can clear out waves really quickly and gives you map pressure. Realm Warp, getting multiple people into a side lane against something like a Twisted Fate who has the Destiny. It's the ability to follow the Twisted Fate that can really help you out.
Now, something I really do want to see, though, from the MKOI draft is I'm not actually a big fan of TF if you pair it with kind of like more tanks and stuff on the top side. We've seen that a number of times, and I feel like oftentimes you just don't really have a great lane to play towards. Yeah. I would like to see, you know, Mirwin bust out something that is a little bit more selfish, a little bit more split pushy. Ooh. Obviously, Gwen is going to be banned, but we're going to get the Lee Sin here from Elyoya, so that is really strong. But obviously there's so many picks that we have seen from Mirwin that I do think fit the bill, but like play towards something like an Ambessa or something along those lines I think would feel really good, because you are a little bit lower in consistent damage and you do want to have a lane that you're really focused on kind of putting ahead.
It's also whether he wants to pick it here or whether he wants to wait for the second rotation. Obviously, CFO could then pick their top laner and ban out a couple of good top laners into it. It looks like it is going to be the Ambessa.
Really
good
like
prediction there.
Yeah, I mean, it is something that fits a bill. You know, I was looking through his champion pool, and it's like, obviously, Gwen is banned out, Jax is banned out. You do want physical damage, and it's something that can kind of play heavily through that side lane, so I think it makes a lot of sense, and I do kind of like what they're drafting here. It's a lot of playmaking. Lee Sin, obviously, sometimes it is difficult to get into that backline, you know, kick someone in, but, well, guess what? Rapid Fire Gold card sets you up pretty well for those Qs. Shen would be a great answer. I actually really like Shen because the Spirit's Refuge, that parry zone, can actually block the gold card, so that is quite nice when they are coming in. It's also a very advantageous matchup in the early levels against Ambessa. I think pre-6 is quite heavily Shen favored. As long as you're actually playing it well, you're pulling the blade through for the empowered autos. I do think it really does go in your favor. The other reason I really, really like it against TF is not only can you answer when they are coming towards you, but you can actually answer TF plays very effectively. TF is going to try to ult down to bot to dive. Well, all of a sudden, here's Shen, and now it's going to be a problem.
And then there's a Realm Warp to follow up, right? The ability for CFO to be around the map, which is something that really dictated how good they were in the early game in game 1, is just incredible here. They have so many tools to answer pressure from MKOI, but so many tools also to make their own plays in those side lanes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you had talked about how, you know, you thought CFO wasn't necessarily playing the map as well in the later stages. Shen is such a band-aid for your macro. Like, it is so much easier to actually play out because you can basically go and answer every single wave. You don't really have to think too much about it. You know, I'm not expecting him to go like solo queue and go flash ignite. It probably is just going to be flash TP. And then you always have a global pretty much to be able to answer whether it is your ult or your TP. So it's very comfortable to go out towards those side lanes. Would be interested to see what sort of a build he does go for. Obviously, Titanic is very, very popular, but a lot of the Shen 1 tricks do prefer just going like more of a pure tank style, where you're just going something like Bombies into Deadmans and then, you know, using that Bombie for your early wave clear. You can become incredibly tanky that way. Obviously, your damage is lower, your wave clear is lower, so there are kind of pros and cons. But when you're looking at a damage profile like of a composition and it's a little bit on the low end, sometimes those more aggressive aggressively tanky builds can become such a problem for them. And you just can't actually punch through and finish off Shen, especially if you're auto attack focused, just because of that W. That parry zone is so powerful.
Spirit's Refuge just does so much work in that sort of situation. CFO looking towards the Zeri with 4 AD carry bans in the second rotation. Kai'Sa, Varus, Lucian, and Kalista all taken away. If I'm looking at Super, you're falling a little bit down the list. Things like his Xayah, his Tristana, it does have an okay Draven as well if they want to be a bit aggressive in that lane. But for Doggo is actually going to be the Jhin locked in the end.
Honestly, I really like Jhin here. You know, I do think, you know, one of the kind of struggles of Jhin is punching through frontline. There's not really any super tank that's going to be drafted here. You know, maybe go towards like a Braum or something, but I don't really expect that. Alvaro, I think, is so good on the playmakers. I do want to kind of continue to see him there. I'll be interesting to see where he goes, if it is going to be something kind of standard like a Rel, which, you know, is up and available. Rakan is also up and available. Caitlyn would be interesting and would open the door for more of these aggressive pairings. You know, some of the Enchanter pairings, things like Nico, I think, can work great as well, because Nico has that luxury of being both an engaged champ and something that can really facilitate the poke very, very well in lane. Obviously, all the tricks with the clone are incredibly strong for actually playing around vision, so it is really powerful, and I do think it would kind of fit as far as what they are looking for, but I'm just not sure if that is exactly what they want Alvaro on.
Yeah, the things you usually look at are Nico or Karma when you're looking at a Caitlyn, right? And it is going to be the Karma pick. I agree with you that having Alvaro on something that doesn't have hard engage kind of mutes MKOI a little bit. Him being able to be a front line is just so powerful, and his flank positions are really good. So I would have preferred the Nico. I also think they don't have a huge amount of CC as a composition. You've got Gold Card, you've got Lee Sin kicking people back, you've got the public execution, and that's about it. So they need to be poking out before fights start. It has to be Gold Card into Yordle Snaptrap, into a little bit of poke, because Bard is the final pick here for Kaiwing on CFO.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be very heavily about the 2v2. You know, I do think in the early 2v2, Karma, obviously, for him to play the map later. So we will see. I mean, if they can actually do really well in this bot lane 2v2, I think that's going to open up options for them massively. You know, if we see Supa and Alvaro creating an advantage, being able to utilize that to get an early dragon or even 2 early dragons, well, all of a sudden then, you have so much time to play the map, to look for plays. There's not pressure on you to actually walk in and try to fight CFO if you don't feel the setup is there.
Couple of unsealed spellbooks in this game. We saw none in game 1, but Jojo is running one, as is Kaiwing on this Bard. No real surprises there. Both Twisted Fate and the Bard love to have that utility out of the extra summoner spells.
I mean, there's going to be so much ability to move around the map and answer these plays. You know, when you're thinking about Shen'Alt, when you're thinking about Realm Warp, when you're thinking about double teleport, and potentially even a teleport or just Bard roaming around and answering those plays. So it is going to be something that you really have to track. You've got to do a great job at monitoring where these people could be, because they're going to be able to respond so much faster than they can in a normal game.
For MKOI, a bad start to the day. Bad start to MSI, although against BLG, they did have some signs of life. In that game 4, Eliora came out afterwards in an interview and said, we were just playing scared. They were over-respecting BLG, they were overthinking, they didn't really play the map the way that they would want to play the map, or the way they would domestically. In game 1 here against CFO, the map was not theirs at all. CFO absolutely controlled everything on Summoner's Rift. So for MKOI now, if there are a few nerves, if there's a little bit of anxiousness, you really need to focus up and get locked in for this game.
You absolutely do, and it's kind of easy to say, but it's hard to do. It's one of these things where it's like, yeah, you know you need to play the champion, not necessarily the player, but it can be very hard to separate the fact that it's like, I'm just playing against a Jax versus I'm playing against Bin's Jax, right? You know, these things really do weigh on you, and it's hard to not sometimes overthink, you know, especially for players. These Western players go up and you get to play against some of your idols even. You're playing against like a Gen G, and it's hard to think, well, Chovy's going to know what we're doing, or Chovy's going to answer it, or they're going to be able to stop us, and sometimes that does lead players into overthinking and not being able to find those opportunities.
Even in a series like this where CFO, they've got great players, but they're not as well known as a Gen G or an AL or a T1. For MKOI, they're the last hope of Europe. That's an expectation placed on them coming into this. And when you lose game 1, you're then thinking a little bit more apprehensively overall. Is Super and Alvaro able to get the push early on in this bot lane?
Also worth noting, Doggo going for a boot start here, so definitely a lot less popular. This used to be meta, quite a long time ago. We have seen it, I think, once so far this tournament that I can recall. But obviously, when you are playing against a lane that is really heavily skill shot reliant, sometimes people do it against Varus. But obviously, Caitlyn, the Q connects there. But between Caitlyn poke, Karma poke, you really do have to dodge a lot of this. So Doggo really is valuing the extra pots as well as that additional move speed here. But he's already chugged through every one of those potions regardless, and I think he's gonna have to maybe give up that cannon too.
Build over Peacemaker connecting just on the edge of it. Jojo looking for the stun here as the Rune Prison comes out from Honkyu. Jojo on the wrong side of the trades in mid. Elio has finished his clear and now he's on the bot side Scuttle Crab. Junjo went towards the top side, but is also on that Scuttle Crab right now. Driver taking a tower shot. Could have been a great trade for him, but shadow dashing underneath that turret range makes it a little bit trickier to get the damage down onto Mirwin.
It really does, and I think he's going to be able to get the crash either way, but it is one of the great ways to play against Shen is because Shen has really crap wave clear. Like, you are so bad at pushing in these waves. That is why you almost always need to rush a bombies or go Titanic or do something to facilitate that. But if you can, before they're able to actually get there, be able to hold waves outside the turret. Sometimes Shen can no longer go aggressive because you can't actually taunt in the tower range, but you struggle to actually crash the wave. So it can be a way to really play effectively against the Shen. And for Mirwin, it really is just all about being able to just kind of survive the early pressure that Shen is going to be put on. You are going to outscale. When you hit Eclipse and you get level 6, you're going to be in a really good spot.
Honkyu locked up with the gold card. Allura jumping in as well. Will hit the Sonic Wave. This is just harass more than anything. Doesn't even pop the cripple part of the E, that Tempest cripple. Junjo, though, a magical journey to the bot lane as Alvaro flashes away. Super trying to get away as well, but a good Ishtar's impact. The root blocked there by Super. Alvaro will fall first, and now Super needs to get the hell out of here. Does still have a flash of his own. Doggo flashes, fourth shot to the back. Super and Alvaro fall.
Yeah, Supa tries to block the W there, blocks the root, but the problem is it means Alvaro's just going to go down anyway, and then Supa becomes a target here himself. Doesn't use the flash as Doggo flashes in with the 4-shot. They finish them both off, and this time both the kills go to Doggo. That is such a problem. Early Swifties even going to be able to buy some more damage on top of that. And this Jhin going to be a problem. That's the playmaking we've come to expect here. Kaiwing and Junja so active. I think they were feeling a little bit too comfortable, thinking, you know what, it's Skarner early. He's just going to be farming. He's just going to be chilling. But no vision in the river whatsoever for the MKOI bot lane. You're going to be able to get in behind them. Great flashback from Junja. Brings him all the way back. Stuns him into the wall. And then Supa trying to survive, but we're going back to live.
Prison's going to hit. There's the Ishtar's impact as well for the suppression. TP coming in from MKOI as they try and save Alvaro. Alayoya jumps across the wall, and now Junja is in for a world of hurt. He'll fall. MKOI on the board as Mirwin lands with the TP, but will just clear out the wave.
And now they're just going to try to delay Mirwin from getting up towards that top side. Because yes, we did see MKOI overload mid lane. They were able to get a kill there. Great job by them. And they're going to use this to try to start the dragon. The advantage for CFO is that no one is answering top lane right now. So that is Doggo that is getting this farm up on that top side, trying to catch up as far as the CS is concerned with Supa. And just, you can see he's very slowly pushing this out and will eventually stack and push away, but he's going to deny probably an entire wave.
Destiny in onto Honkyu. The Rune Prison comes out as well, but Mirwin gets the kill. This Shroud's impact is going to take him back underneath the tower. Has to try and flash away. Junja puts him in the dirt, and Jojo Pyun will be able to walk away. A 1-for-1 exchange. CFO will get the feat of warfare as they picked up their third kill.
This time, I do feel like it favors CFO a lot more because you get that 1-for-1, and again, still no one is actually answering the top side. Kaiwing is going to be annoying here, try to hold as much as he can, but this freeze has been maintained for quite a while. Again, eventually it will stack up and push away here, you have to think, but that is a lot of waves, a lot of experience that is being lost by MKOI on the map. The whole time, Driver has been mid lane, Honkyu gets out, or rather, he's been bot lane, Honkyu gets back out to mid lane, and he'll pick up that wave, so it is going to start showing itself as far as the experience is concerned. You can see Doggo now already hit level 6 here, so he's up with the solo laners as far as experience is concerned because he's been getting solo XP on this top side for quite a long time, and just now, finally, feels like a couple minutes later, MKOI is sending someone up towards that top side to answer.
Super's going to go up there. I'll be matched by Alvaro in a moment's time. Love to see that wave and see if it's still frozen by Doggo and by Kaiwing. No, it looks like it's slowly going to start pushing out towards the MKOI side. So with the freeze broken, should be okay for Super just to stay back underneath his tower until that wave pushes in, with Alvaro still working his way through the jungle. Honkyu doing a good job against Jojo Pyun here in the mid lane, who's gone for the Catalyst. Went double Ruby Crystal to start, gets Catalyst of Aeons now, so isn't going for that immediate damage spike that you can sometimes go for.
Yeah, definitely the most common build these days is just going to be Roa, Lich Bane, Rapid Fire, so kind of expecting that. They are looking for a potential dive here.
Curtain's open. Super has the flash, and because of the protection of Elyoya and Alvaro, they are able to back away, but this is really well done by CFO. They froze the wave on the top side. Temper Fate connects. It's onto Elyoya, who flashes away from the Impale. In the end, CFO will just settle for the fact that they denied 2 full waves of minion underneath this tower.
Exactly. Like you said, they have this kind of freeze over by their side for so long. Doggo's getting a solo experience. They lost probably 2 waves or even more from that. Then MKOI is able to crash this wave. And while they're crashing the wave, yes, it is just a trade of summoners and things like that. They're looking for JoJo, though. They're going to be TPing in as well with the Bard.
Ginger and Hongyu coming in, and the Stand United is everything invested to make sure that JoJo's done for. Buried on home soil, JoJo goes down.
The Avengers assemble. 4 members from CFO show up. It's a TP from the Bard. It's the Shen ultimate. It's the Realm Warp with 2. 4 members just materialize on your screen, knock down your mid laner, and now they're over here trying to take down these grubs. Elyoya looking to see if there's an angle to steal one away.
He already got the first one, so this would be the second for MKOI if they can get it, and they do manage to sneak it away in the face of CFO. So that's the neutral objective bounty over to MKOI. You also have the first dragon of the game. We're really going to be playing around who gets that first turret, it feels, for the Feats of Strength.
Yeah, it is looking that way for sure. As Doggo back towards that bottom side. Just kind of chilling here against Mirwin, who is not out to the Eclipse yet. That I feel like is where you really start having to respect what the Abessa can do. It just feels like a completely different champion what it is once it is completed. And Driver is going to be working towards that Titanic Hydra. So is going to be having really high upfront damage, you know, as well as some really powerful wave clear. So even when you start losing out on some of these matchups, one of the real advantages of playing the Titanic, it's like, yeah, you're going to get outscaled by the Ambessa, but you just show up and you one-shot the wave for the Titanic and then you walk away and you're saying, you know what, I'm never going to fight you, I'm just going to fight the wave. And then it allows you to kind of nullify some of that disadvantage that you do have.
Yeah, you'll slowly lose your tower, but much slower than if you didn't go for that wave clear build. Next Drake up in a minute and a half. Once again, CFO's vision control really solid on this bottom side of the map. They have a control ward here, a couple of wards in towards where the Razor Beaks are, so they'll spot the fact that Elyoya is there. Hongyu lying in wait will take a third of Alvaro's HP.
Doggo just about a level 8 here. You can see Kaiwing just about level 7, so almost a full level advantage for both that bot lane. That is the fallout of what happened up on the top side. As well, Bard obviously getting a little bit of experience from picking up all of the meeps and everything everywhere.
Loves his chimes. There's a good Bard. Everyone always says Bard's hard to play, and I think it's only because of the minigame.
I think it's actually fake news. Bard is fake hard to play. I always thought it was going to be really hard, and they started playing a lot of Bard, and you realize how much the Q cheats, and you're
true.
like,
Just goes at right angles.
Exactly. But then once you start playing it, you want to keep up the lie, so you can maintain that aura of like,
true.
You're right, Bard is really hard to play. I'm just so
play.
skilled. It's the only reason I can pull it off. But definitely at the pro level, it is obviously incredibly hard. You can get jumped on, you can get burst down. The ultimate, it is one of the only ultimates that not only can it help you, it can actively hurt your team. So the timing is incredibly important, and you do have to be on point in these kind of games to be able to have any sort of an impact.
I mean, we've learned that supports have a lot of tools to actively harm your team from game one as well, haven't we? So obviously it's just a support thing all around.
Let me help him out.
Get him onto the backline, guys. It's fine. Hongyu meeting Mirwin down towards this bottom side. Mirwin has about a 10 CS lead over Driver, even though they're not laning against each other anymore. Hongyu farming up well, 106 CS at the moment. The leads really for CFO are on Doggo, who's picked up those 2 kills, and so he's about 500 gold ahead. As Jun just caught out a little bit here. Alvaro looking for that tether, will land it. Super takes a bit of a chunk, but so does Junja, down to half HP. Temper Fate coming out. Super decides to flash it with Doggo coming in from the side. Hongyu flashes forward. There's the Stand United. Elyoya looking for the kick away. Can't get it in time, and with the curtains opening, the public execution is a little bit too late onto Doggo. Mirwin dashing onto that backline. Doggo flashes away. Alvaro forced down towards the bottom side. Now Mirwin's in the middle of Junja and Kaiwing. The flash forward with the Cosmic Binding isn't going to connect, so Mirwin will take one. Alvaro coming in and has the shields as well with that Inspire. Alvaro now needs to run, though. Rooted up with the Rune Prison. Destiny comes out from JoJo. Gold card locked in. Hongyu slowed up, and MKOI will turn the fight around.
Yeah, we saw the Shen ult coming through. It actually got interrupted by a gold card from JoJo, but then he elected to never teleport. Once JoJo backed off, Shen could have actually TP'd in and tried to join the fight. Decides not to do so, stays up on that top side, and again, because you have no wave clear pre-Titanic, he's not even able to crash the wave or anything, so there's no sort of a punish there. So I am kind of surprised that Driver didn't elect to join the fight. There was a lot of low health bars there, and the extra member really could have made a difference. We see at the beginning of the fight, obviously going pretty heavily in the favor of MKOI, putting a lot of damage down there on a Junja, but then a great ulti here from Kaiwing forces out the flash, and this is when Hongyu says, you know what, I'm going to punish. Supa walks back in, they go with the Realm Warp. This is where the gold card is going to interrupt here. But this is where I feel like you could potentially back off and behind that tower and look even for the TP. Alvaro is dealing with Hongyu. Junja does help to take down Elyoya, but Mirwin is the one who's making all the difference. He pushes out Doggo, so Doggo can't rejoin. They're all trying to gather up and actually knock down Mirwin, but they can't quite do it. The Impale is sidestepped by Mirwin. Hongyu looks for him, but he's going to get avoided. And then finally, JoJo does arrive and gets a kill. On the back end of that play, CFO do grab the dragon, but nicely done there by MKOI.
Tempered Fate again. There's the Shadow Dash for the taunt. Deadly Flourish coming out as well. JoJo has to flash away and will manage to survive. It's a race for the first tower as well as Hongyu continues to push in the bot side. Super's going to stay up top. There's one plate on that turret remaining. CFO backing away from mid, and looks like it is going to be MKOI claiming that first tower blood.
Yeah, I got to be feeling really good about that. Getting additional gold here onto the Caitlyn. Still good aggressive play from CFO in the mid lane. It was a nice sidestep on the Bard ultimate. You know, gets the Karma move speed from the shield, able to backstep, avoid that. But by doing that, it was really well placed ult. So you either have to walk into it or you have to back up into the Shen. So it was kind of, you know, damned if you do, damned if you don't. And ends up having to use his flash either way there. Couldn't quite knock him down. And Mirwin is going to be able to defend on the bot side. So now we'll see, kind of entering this mid-game stage here at 14 minutes, how MKOI can play the map. You know, Mirwin looked really good in that last fight. He's getting to quite a strong point now. He does have this big advantage after picking up all those kills, has the Eclipse done, working towards the second item. I want to see Elyoya, JoJo play towards Mirwin, you know, be able to slam home advantages, you know, create that pressure in the side lane where all of a sudden 3 members show up, you get a dive, you pressure the tower, you make the options really limited and really difficult there for CFO.
See what Driver does to waves now, though, with that Titanic finished. Has the Bramble Vest as well to deal with Mirwin in the pure 1v1. Rift held up in 7 seconds time. MKOI trying to set up a little bit of vision around it as Alvaro stepped in by himself. We'll now have the support of Elyoya.
I also really like the first item here for Bard. Kaiwing going straight for the Mikhails. You know, we talked about kind of the limited engage. It really is going to be fishing for gold cards. So now having the Mikhails, I do think is going to be a great answer. It's something that I think is sometimes a little bit overlooked. People kind of just default to some of these other support items. But I do think it's so powerful, especially when a team is really reliant on, you know, one form of engage that is easily answered. Of course, Mikhail's a much longer cooldown than gold card is, but you know, really can be a game changer there, especially because Doggo has no cleanse, right? He is playing barrier, and so I think without some sort of Mikhails, it's just kind of point and click on Doggo every time, and he would be in trouble.
And the good thing for Mikhails on a gold card is you have quite a long time to see it on its way, so you can get the Mikhails off immediately. Captain Jacket, or you can even Mikhails yourself with a tiny window just beforehand, because it takes a little bit of time to cast. Driver's going to be able to get the tower on the bottom side. MKOI posturing around this Rift Held, down to 3,000 HP. Junja trying to step in range for the smite. Destiny comes out, Junja steps forward. There's the stun card, and Elyoya will secure the Rift Held and the boots for MKOI.
Something really interesting there. So Mirwin was playing off vision that entire time. He was basically sitting in this area right here trying to hide. And I think what he was hoping was that CFO would fully commit to the fight and then he would jump in and surprise, I'm already here, be able to turn around.
Chases Driver out of this jungle as well. Ginger will be able to come across. He flashes forward the Ishtar's impact. There's the Impale as well. And look at the damage on Elyoya. Snap! And he is gone. CFO engaging perfectly.
Yeah, Junja really finding his opportunity there, and he is so aggressive when he sees that window for a kill. Driver had been pushing down on bot side, trying to eliminate some of that advantage. Obviously, he took down the tower, pushed in some waves, had been down 1.3k. I assume the gold lead will have closed quite a bit. Yep, plus 400 since we last checked in. And Junja is the one up well over 1,000 gold. He is playing that tank that could be difficult to deal with here. And we talked about the ability for MKOI to play out these fights by stepping forward, hit them with the gold card, poke them down. But when Junja is getting really strong, it is going to be that much more difficult to have that poke really stick. And to be able to actually deal with this front line.
It's also just such a good moment to do it, taking the entire bot side of the jungle away. It's basically a 6-camp swing. You're getting 3 camps and your opponent isn't getting 3 camps. Also gets the Scuttle Crab off the back of it. Weren't able to get any other... Pardon?
Quick maths.
Quick maths, yeah, woo. 1 + 1 is 3, -2 is 6. No. Anyway, no other neutral objectives to do. I did a little bit. Look now. Man's not hot.
Now we're back to Fast and Furious.
We need to get Freak back here. I remember the good old 2017 days, eating Taco Bell at 3 o'clock in the morning while in the LA studio.
We had him back for a playoff game.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
It was a solid caster. A little bit bolder than I remember him, I think.
A little bit bolder?
Yeah, he's lost a little bit more hair than the last time I saw him.
Fair.
Yeah.
Happens to the best of us.
Yes, it does.
I'd like you all to know the medic stared right at my bald head after I said that.
It's the reflection from the lights as hell. I can't avoid it. Next Drake up in 20 seconds time would be the second of the game for either of these two teams. Driver trying to shadow dash onto Jojo Pion, who doesn't have the teleport currently on this Twisted Fate. Running the heal and the flash. Alvaro flashes immediately away from Honku, but the chase continues as Ginger finds his man in the jungle. Alvaro with a great mantra there to get a little bit of extra health back. Super tried to open up on Honku, and now the collapse begins for MKOI. Stand United coming out as Honku steps forward onto Mirwin. Mirwin flashes away himself. Jojo's here. Gold card locked in. Temper Fate hits 2. Ginger looking for the Ishtal's impact. Oh, everything mistimed. The Impale too slow. The dash in too fast. MKOI are going to look for more as they get the kickback. Public execution onto the backline. MKOI begin to turn the tides in the fight. Flash forward from Super. Immediately into Driver, who lands the taunt. Ginger tries to open up, but can't get close enough. Super able to get away across the wall. The chase onto Ginger continues. And Leoya so deep, though. And the rest of MKOI unable to back him up. Alvaro caught with a deadly flourish. The curtains open, looking for Super. Can't find him as he steps out of the back of the range.
Not able to actually grab that last kill. Really messy fight, though, back and forth. Looked like it was going to be really positive for MKOI, and then CFO, they hit this great Bard ulti, and you're thinking, uh-oh, MKOI is going to get cooked here. But Kaiwing throws out the binding way too early. The Impale is not there. You know, everything missed time from CFO, and then they had to go into this fighting retreat. The start of it is Alvaro trying to retreat here, you know, getting hit by the deadly flourish. Does have the Mikhails on himself. The Monster comes out, trying to heal up, and then they see Mirwin here, kind of on the bottom of the screen, looking to try to turn onto him. You can see Honkyu's going to flash in with the Stand United, trying to set that up, but then Mirwin gets back. And this is where the health bar is getting a little bit low. CFO realized, okay, we need to retreat. Now, this is all about timing. You have to actually watch the spell effects there. Everything too early. The Impale, the Taunt, the Cosmic Binding. Had they hit that, that is probably just 2 instantly dead members from MKOI and an absolute disaster for the EU side. But then Supa, I think, here gets kind of over-aggressive, flashing into the pit. I feel like that was a bit too far. MKOI getting really excited here, trying to get the most. As Elioya goes through, there's the Spirit's Refuge, there's the shielding from Junja, everything there to try to keep him alive. And you can see, realizing his mistake.
Because if you slow it down as well, you get the Drake off the back of it. Yeah. Now CFO have that Mountain Dragon, a very minute gold lead for them as well, only 100 gold in it so far. 2 items have been completed on Jojo and on Honku. AD carry for Doggo as well has 2 in his pocket.
I don't even know if Jojo had spent his gold prior to that fight, because the last time I saw he was just on Roa, so you know, and I saw he was up gold. Okay, nice timing there with the Bard ultimate. Can't always deny that Rift Herald charge. So Jojo buys a full item on his base with the Lich Bane, and obviously with that dagger going to be working in towards the rapid fire. That is where things really do change. You know, not that your damage is really ramping up that much, but it just changes the way that you have to play the game, because all of a sudden you really can just walk forward every time gold card is up and you have the rapid fire ready, and you're just fishing for those gold cards. You're looking for poke. But Doggo on the other side is definitely going to be a problem. He has been playing very well and is likely working in towards LDR third here, I would think.
Yeah, he's in a really strong spot. 700 gold ahead of a Karma Caitlyn lane, which is usually so dominant in the early game, taking 5 plates down towards that bottom side. Super was moved towards top to get some plates for himself, but hasn't actually been able to participate in any of the kills or assists for MKOI.
Yeah, and it would be so interesting to actually know the total gold swing and amount of experience that was missed by MKOI when Doggo was freezing that top side, because to me that was such a big turn in the game where they didn't have kind of those correct lane assignments. They tried to overload one side, really punish. They couldn't quite do it, because you can really see it even in the experience advantage. You know, still over a full level ahead here, level 13 for Doggo. It is pretty rare that you see them at the same level as the soul laners at this point in the game.
CFO doing a really good job of just funneling into Doggo in the early game, and then since then in team fights, been absolutely on the mark.
Funneling into himself.
Yes, he has. Yes, he has. Ishtar's impact once again from Ginger, looking for Alvaro, cancels it, as he thought he was going a little bit deeper than he wanted. Next Drake up in 2 minutes, so this is all just vying for pressure, vying for vision control around this bot side. Obviously with Artican up, there's always the possibility you can sneak it away. It's something we've seen CFO like to do, are these two-man objectives while presenting on the rest of the map. Tempered Fate doesn't connect, as you say. Good sidestep there from Alvaro.
Nicely done. Super showing up mid lane though, and Junja's behind him.
He doesn't have flash. Ginger going in. There's the Impel, but Super sidesteps it. Now with the TP coming in from MKOI, maybe they'll look for the fight. Destiny as well, cancelled with the Shadow Dash. Jojo's going to lock in the gold card. We'll pocket onto Driver. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Ginger able to escape for now. The ace in the hole will only hit on the Kaiwing's backside. And in the end, Ginger will manage to get to safety.
Yeah, that's critical though by Super. Really well done by him. Able to avoid pretty much everything there. Didn't even have his Ghost available, and thankfully didn't need it. He is not playing Cleanse, so Mikhail's is going to be done for Alvaro. MKOI now, they don't get the kill, but they did chunk out Junja so low, and they know this is going to be their opportunity here, but wards are on it.
There's a great TP ward for Driver in that Tribush as well. MKOI are going to teleport in Jojo Pyun. Artican already down to 7,000 HP. Honku trying to get in here as well. Ginger might be too late to get here. Ishtar's impact going forward, looking for the smite, but kicked away. Now they'll turn onto Honku. Public execution down onto him, rooted up as well by the Yordle Snapchat. He'll fall. MKOI need to retreat out of the curtain calls. Alvaro takes the first shot, Jojo the second and the third. Driver trying to step in, looking for that Shadow Dash. Mirwin waiting in the bush, seeing if he can find an engage. Driver dashes away with the taunt, and MKOI will back away.
Nicely done, MKOI, getting that bit of pressure all off of this failed dive onto Supa. They get Junja incredibly low. They push him back to base. They immediately use the HP advantage to get down to the Otacon and be able to start that up. And that is a big advantage there for MKOI. Unfortunately, they have not really had the push, so they don't actually have that many flowers, so they're not amplifying that much. But of course, any you're getting for the rest of the game still going to be bonus. And you do still get that proc on kill, which is going to be potentially game-changing.
Little AoE can really help. The CFO, they want 26 petals to only the 16 of MKOI.
How many flowers per petal? Or how many petals per flower?
It was 3, wasn't it? Didn't you get 3 for the big ones and only 1 for the small one?
True.
So maybe when you pick the flower, some of them immediately die. So it's one of those rare commodities, Can't cook them all, did you say?
Collect.
Oh, collect. Thought it was some sort of tea thing. I'm much more experienced in that than you.
You're like, ooh. The British man stands up and starts paying attention.
Get a good brew on, we'll be very happy. MKOI trying to cook something special up here. Have about a 300 gold lead. 2 items now on Super as well, as we're jockeying for position around the mid lane tower. Driver, Ginger and Honku acting as a 3-man squad. Jojo Pyun is just behind the team right now. Does have the Destiny if he wants to go in. Will land the gold card. You can see the extra range from the rapid fire cannon there helping out. Tempered Fate hits 2 though. As Super needs to get out of here, taunted immediately. Junjo on the chase as well, and Super has no recourse to survive. Next up is Mirwin, rooted up. The Mikhail's too late. The Ishtar's impact into the Impale. Alioya dashes in, but immediately is Shadow Dash taunted. CFO find 2 curtains open. Jojo takes 1, takes 2. Alvaro able to get out to the side, but Jojo's going to fall for it. Kaiwing chasing his opposite man with the Realm Orb coming out. He's sent to the Shadow Realm. CFO with a clean ace.
That's massive for CFO. I mean, not only to get a 5-for-0 ace, they're going to get Baron, they're going to get Dragon, they're going to move to Soul Point here. That is huge. And just like that, they blow the game open. Well, maybe not the Dragon, as it looks like Dragon has hands, as Shen finds out, unfortunately. But they will still be able to take down the Baron. And it all was off of these small differences. Alvaro did not have his Mikhails at the start of that fight. It was a couple seconds on cooldown. Supa is not playing, playing Cleanse. So the fact that you get caught by that Bardol, perfectly timed taunt comes out of it this time from the Shen. So let's watch this one more time. It's really all about Supa. Supa is going to get hit by this Bardol. Elects not to flash it. I wonder if they knew that Mikhails was still on cooldown. Mikhails just had a couple seconds, couldn't cleanse it, so he gets CC'd up, can't flash, can't do anything from that point. Would have needed to flash the Bardol, but may have been thinking, my support has Mikhails, I'm going to be fine, I'll just flash afterwards if I have to. But once he goes down, it's a full-on retreat here for MKOI. and CFO are not going to let them do that. They just chase after. Doggo still has the ult for the end of the fight. There's nowhere for them to go. They're able to use all of this mobility, all of this power to chase him down, get all the kills, get the Baron, and now open up an absolutely enormous lead here. They will eventually get back to that dragon and take that as well. Being on Mountain Soul Point is really problematic when you're already behind.
Especially on, it's a relatively low damage composition coming out from MKOI. When you're in this spot, you only have a 2-item AD carry. Mirwin almost caught, has to flash. Serpent's Fang on Mirwin as well to try and get through some of the shields that are happening on CFO. That's Stand United, obviously one of them. Rise getting shields as well. Driver's going to be able to push through the mid lane. Goes in with the taunt. Elioya with the kickback. Dragon's Rage underneath the tower. Driver surviving for an absolute age, and we talk about no damage, and there it is. Driver will go down. The curtains open as Ginger goes in with the Impale. They'll find one in answer. It's Alvaro falling. Magical Journey away from Ginger. Destiny going in as well as Jojo Pyun looks for them, but he goes too deep and has to flash himself. CFO are unrelenting in their pressure here. Honku flashes forward, can't quite land the spell flux, but the Realm Orb's there for the chase, and Doggo's barking. He jumps back in as Mirwin's looking for the engage, but he's knocked into the wall, and what can he do? In the face of 4 of CFO, this might just be game.
It's looking like it. Doggo knocks down another one there. They are going to pull back, though. They do have some low health bars. Driver got very aggressive, goes to the taunt flash in the 1v3. You know, is not able to make anything happen, but he does at least get Mikhail's out. He buys a lot of time for the rest of the team to come over, and CFO with this gold leader is just so confident to continue the fight here, posturing so aggressively. We saw very many summoners getting used, and now they're looking for Jojo. They're just TPing.
He steps forward immediately, TP. There's the Tempered Fate as well. Kaiwing teleported in with the Unsealed Spellbook to hit the Tempered Fate, and CFO are not giving MKOI a moment to breathe.
Doggo still has not yet based. He is incredibly low. Will they elect to stay around? They're trying to heal him up a little bit with these Bard health backs, but it is still a bit risky.
It's the last wave of Baron push, so I think they're just seeing if they can chip away at this inhibitor tower. As you say, a bit risky, but we also talked about how little MKOI actually have in terms of hard engage. So assuming Doggo just plays a little bit further back, he's fine. Use your front line. There's the redemption, back to full HP. The inhibitor tower goes down. Baron about to expire on them, but they can just push forward for the inhibitor because MKOI still don't have their mid laner for 20 seconds.
Yeah, CFO electing to just kind of back off right now, though. Honku has no ult, has no TP, so they don't want to overstay their welcome. I think Doggo is going to have a massive amount of gold in pocket. I wouldn't be surprised to see like a full IE come through, and if you do see that, that is concerning for MKOI and their fans, and that is going to be the reality you are facing down. This guy has so much move speed, has the full IE, 7, 0, and 8 now. Have not been able to take him down. And CFO on the precipice here of moving us to match point against MKOI.
And really clean as well in both the games. First game, a couple of hiccups in the mid game where MKOI were able to get back, but CFO just really know the limits of their team compositions. We see them getting caught out a little bit in the red side jungle, they back away, but then realize they can re-engage. We see in the mid lane, they get caught out a little bit as well, but then they re-engage. Their ability after absorbing the initial burst from MKOI, or after absorbing the initial stun, Tempered Fate after Tempered Fate from Kaiwing hitting the backline, and then CFO can all just collapse onto a single target.
Absolutely, and Driver's just been so annoying in these side lanes. He's constantly pushing out the waves. They've been able to get experience advantages because they're non-stop pushing in these side waves. Even building towards, which I'm assuming is going to be a Warmogs, which if he gets there means, well, Poke is not going to do anything anymore. That is going to be really difficult for them to deal with. It's already so hard for them to actually knock through these front lines. It's really all up to Supa, and CFO knows that. Every single fight, they're just flying at Supa. They're sending everything at him. They're not allowing him to stand and fire and actually get that damage out because they know as long as we're putting the pressure on Supa, Jojo's not going to kill your tanks, and Mirwin, it's going to take way too long to really be able to do it by himself. They are so reliant on Supa with this composition.
Supa is 1.4 thousand gold behind. For MKOI, the smallest of windows is this next Dragon or Baron fight. They're spawning at about the same time. If you can sneak away one of them, perhaps there's a way back into the game, but I really don't think CFO are going to give you that luxury. They've been so adamant with their vision control. They've been precise. Look at how deep their vision line is into the MKOI jungle. It's past the red buff. It's around where the wolves are. It's so hard for MKOI to step up, especially since they don't have a true tank. Yeah. So who is guiding this Karma through? Well, it's Mirwin right now, but he needs at least another member, or even 3 of them, to actually put pressure into the enemy side of the map.
Absolutely, and Elioya just hasn't really been able to get much value on the Lee Sin so far this game, you know, but there is always the opportunity to make a big play on this champion, and that is why it is so exciting. to watch. He is down 2.6K. It's going to be very hard, but hey, if you can get into the back line, kick someone like Doggo in, get a kill on him right to start a fight, then you have more of an opportunity. But that is going to be tough, and Honkyu now just bought a full death cap. This guy is well and truly online, hit level 18, and he is ridiculously strong. So you're going to have to find those kind of picks. You're going to have to find those kind of plays. And really the only one who has that kind of explosive X factor is Elyoya. So it falls squarely on his shoulders.
The captain of the team rebuilt it around him.
He's behind them.
As he is behind them on that flank position. The Dragon secured by Honkyu in just a moment's time. Has that Realm Warp. That's why he's been left to his own devices down there. Will be sold for CFO. There we go. He secures it. Driver looking in. TP coming out from Honkyu as Jojo Pin will land the stun across the wall, but Junja's already onto towards the back line. Driver's taken no damage as of yet. Mirin trying to dance around. Honkyu goes very deep though, but there's the Stand United, there's the shield, there's the Seraphs! The Angel on his shoulder keeps him alive. Alvaro forced away, and Honkyu just jumped into the middle of MKOI, survived. Driver TPs into the base. MKOI, they had one last roll of the dice, but it's coming up Snake Eyes.
Not going to be able to do anything there. Honkyu knows his strike, pairs up with Driver, and they are on the march to take down this game.
Elyoya's going to try and defend, but he's the only one left standing for MKOI alongside Alvaro, who might die as the collapse from CFO can just come in. The inhibitor does respawn in the mid lane. There's Doggo. 10-0-8. His bite is worse than his bark. And CFO pushing. Elyoya trying to defend, but what can he do against all of CFO? One game away from glory here for Apex. CFO are flying high.